1. Well, the Winnipeg Jets were without Mark Scheifele, Patrick Laine, and Mason Appleton. It was all smooth sailing for the Flames, right? They were well on their way to sweeping this series. Well, no. The Winnipeg Jets win 3-2, tying this series at 1. And I have a theory of what happened. We'll get into that in a second. But welcome to the Hockey Podcast. You're listening on Spreaker.com. We are recording this. This is not going to be a live recap. We are just recording this. So thank you for listening. You follow us on podcast_hockey. Like us on Facebook, the Hockey Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, as I said. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google. Here's my theory, and Devin's and Matt is with me. I'm going to start with my own theory. It's pretty obvious what happened here. The Calgary Flames tweeted out a dressing room photo that the Flames jersey was in the Oilers dressing room, and that created just a load of clear unluck, and that is why they lost. That I am blaming the Oilers dressing room for this performance.
Well, it's a long-time tradition. You know, back when the Flames drafted Tkachuk that one year, they were doing well until the All-Star break, and then they went to the same hotel in Mexico during the All-Star week off thing, and they came back and just played horribly the rest of the season. So, you know, just anything to do with the Oilers, it just rubs off on the Flames, and for whatever reason, that's just it.
I think that it's, something in the Oilers dressing room, something like in the water, I think.
Yeah. Clearly, something was in the water there for sure. I don't even know where to begin. I guess just get your, Devin, we'll start with Matt, just get your reaction to the game.
Well, after the last game, I was basically thinking that there was going to be two possible outcomes. Either they would learn from the Avalanche series or they would play it over again. And we saw that today. They played just as poorly, if not even more so, than they did last year against Colorado throughout the game. Completely unfocused, and there was just no cohesion with the team whatsoever.
Yeah, From the get-go, they didn't seem like they had the jump. The Jets had the jump from the beginning. Once again, a slow start for the Flames, which is seems to be a theme within the past 5 years, and nothing out of the ordinary, but frustrating to watch nonetheless. And you know, they had little streaks here and there of momentum shifts, and but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Jets came to play, and they were the better team today.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. Just too many penalties, and these are starting to become dumb penalties. We'll get to the Majapani one later, but like, for example, TJ Brody takes a cross-checking penalty, and then Zach Ronaldo, or TJ Brody takes a penalty. I think it wasn't cross-checking. Zach Ronaldo took a cross-checking penalty to put him at 5-on-3 in the second period. Just they're not disciplined really in any way, shape, or form, and I will have a beef with the refereeing in this game a little bit later, but they are taking far too many penalties.
Yeah, they are. The Brody, he had the guy in a headlock, call for holding, and then Ronaldo just doubled down on a cross check to make it a 5-on-3 at the beginning of the second. That was a huge PK from them, and luckily the Winnipeg Jets aren't on their power play game either, because I feel like they probably should have scored on that But the Sam Bennett penalty, undisciplined, especially right after a goal, the coach puts you out there to create momentum, to create energy, and he does cross the line every once in a while, but he's got to make sure he's doing within the game, and especially not at the face-off center ice right after a goal. So their PK was good enough today. But I feel like the Jets can definitely have another gear to their power play, and that can be scary going forward.
Well, frankly, if the Flames were playing pretty much any of the other teams that are currently in this postseason tournament, this would have probably been a 7 or 8 goal performance by whichever team. And like Winnipeg only has 3 guys that are reliable NHL scorers in the lineup today, and yet they still were able to come out on top. And even just basics of like clearing the puck out of the zone and making short passes, like it's like they just forgot how to play hockey at some points in the game, and like just even fundamental hockey. And it's not like Winnipeg was doing a spectacularly amazing job in any aspect themselves. They were doing some dumb turnovers as well, that if the Flames were doing their job even somewhat cohesively, like they should have been able to capitalize more on that. But unfortunately, it was like, oh, here, you take the game. No, you take the game. No, you take the game. And like this team, like especially like if they continue to play like this, if they get past the Jets, which I don't think is a given, I don't think that they're going to be playing a game 5 in the next series.
Can you recall how many real chances they have had on Connor Hellebuyck in this series? Like a real legitimate scoring opportunity?
Honestly, other than the goals that they scored today, I think maybe 2 today.
Yeah, Natural Stat Trick has them at 3 high-danger scoring chances in 2 games so far.
Yeah.
And it's not like this Jets defense is outstanding in any way, shape, or form. It's to me, it was, especially on the power play, it was just a lazy lack of effort.
Yeah, it was. They didn't. They moved the puck around perimeter, but I mean, if you're not getting that one-timer or a point shot, you got to work it down low and try and exploit the defense there. But that's the problem right now. Is I feel like even in the regular season, the power play was not there, and I feel like it hasn't been there in the last 2 years. Even though they've scored a decent amount on the power play, it just doesn't seem threatening, and it's very pedestrian. And if they're going to be successful and getting so many power plays, you need to convert on them. Otherwise, you're not going to go far. Having the extra man, you should have an advantage, but it doesn't seem like they are. They're just passing around and not getting high-scoring danger chances, and it's frustrating to watch. And if they don't change it, they're screwed.
Yeah, well, a good power play makes the defense move around a bit in order to create seams across and all that kind of stuff. But like if you were watching the Jets defense, it's like they're just standing in place and watching the puck getting passed. Okay, you've got it. Okay, you've got it. And like there's no seams opening up. There's no entry points because the Flames just weren't pressuring them at all. And like Calgary seems to get into a bit of a problem where they can't reliably do what they need to do in order to just walk over teams that they should walk over. And like they can get up even in the regular season. Like if they were playing, say, Washington, they'd get up and they'd be taking it to the Capitals. But then they go and play the Los Angeles Kings and play like a tire fire.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that in this Jets series. Like they played rather well in the first game when the Jets actually had all of their players. But, now they're an AHL team, basically. We don't need to try and we'll just get the win. And the other team's like, okay, we'll try. And the results are what they are.
There were 3 examples on the power play that were telling for me. The first was the one late in the second period with 10 seconds left. After Bennett ties it at 2, they get the power play. They have the momentum, right? And 10 seconds left. I don't know what Gustafsson was doing, but he decided to not either play. He didn't play the puck. He just stood there. The Jet player came flying in and made the pass, and Talbot had to make a huge save. The start of the third period on that same power play, they had one rush in. They set a setup. Hannafin couldn't keep it in at the point. There was no effort to try to find a way to get that back into the attacking zone. They were just skating around doing absolutely nothing. And then a later power play in the third period, I don't know who it was. Maybe you two do, but someone, instead of going back to get the puck, decided to jump off the ice, which was fine. But whoever was supposed to be on the ice showed no effort to get on the ice, and the Jets player sped in and it created a shorthanded opportunity. It was just, to me, it was just lazy effort on the power play. Lazy.
Yeah, they have no, their lack of effort, their lack of tenacity. It just doesn't seem they're into it. And once again, I'm spitting out the same stuff that the best players have to be the best players. And right now, Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan, Johnny had a better game today, but both of those players aren't. They're showing me nothing to be confident in, to going forward and leading this team past the Jets or even past the first round of the playoffs. And you would think that they would have more of an effort on the power play because that's where they score their goals normally, and right now they're not, and it's frustrating.
Well, honestly, with how he played today, you would have thought that Jankowski was wearing Monahan's jersey out there.
It was quite possible.
He was just absolutely horrible throughout the game, and Monahan, if he had even a little intensity in his game and drive, frankly, he would be an amazing star caliber player, but he just fades into the woodwork and, he just disappears and, it's like, where is he? And, at this point, if the Flames do lose to the Jets or if they get through the Jets and get hammered by whomever they face, it wouldn't be necessarily a bad idea if this trend continues to perhaps look at switching out Monahan for another player, period.
Well, for information, no points, no shots on goal, 2 hits, 53% on the face-offs, 19 minutes and 52 seconds for Sean.
That's not good enough. That as your number one center, that is not even close to being good enough, especially his bread and butter is shooting. Where are you, Sean? Where are you? You're, like Matt said, you might as well be Mark Jankowski out there. And even Mark Jankowski, I feel like he can throw more hits than Monahan. I saw and remember one of the hits that Monahan hit through, and he's a big body. He can do that, but he doesn't choose to. And even that hit that I saw was just a rub out. It wasn't even a body, like a massive hit or anything like that. I don't know. Being a fan is super hard right now with the Flames, and I'm trying to be analytical about it, and I'm trying not to get emotional about it, but this is friggin' frustrating.
You can say,
sure.
You can say fucking, Devin. I know you want to.
I know. Fuck.
There we go. You feel better. For a comparison, Sam Bennett, 1 goal, 2 penalty minutes, which was not a good penalty for sure. 3 hits, 3 shots on goal. 42% in the face-off circle, which they were not good in any way, shape, or form. But that, at least, is an effort compared to Monahan.
Yeah, moving forward, like if the Flames do peter out relatively quickly, if you were to move, you carrying on from our discussion last game, like if you were to move Lindholm to that first line center spot instead, and you were to trade Monahan for another player, that I think would end up being more of a cohesive build to the team. Because like Lindholm, you can't say that he doesn't have a high ability to care out there and drive. He's always the guy on that line that's consistent with giving an effort, and he scored again today. And like anytime that line's creating anything lately, it seems to be off of Lindholm's back. And it'll be interesting to see if the Flames can make adjustments. But we've been seeing the same pattern for the last 5 years, and the Flames needed to accumulate as much talent as possible, but now it's like in order to take the next steps to actually being successful in the postseason, the Flames need to figure out the parts that they need in order to take that next step. And right now, if trends continue with how they played today, they're not going to be successful in the postseason, and they'll need to make some changes.
One thing I want to say about Lindholm is that he needs to shoot more.
Yes.
I remember him on the power play. He was basically at the top of the circle or high slot, and he decided to pass it off to the side. And it's funny, I sent a screenshot to Kev saying from my game notes, Lindholm has a chance to shoot in the high slot, does not, and he chooses to pass it. My next one says Lindholm does not look confident, and literally the one after that says Lindholm scores by a bad giveaway because he shot the puck. He has a hell of a shot. It's deceptive, and I feel like if he can, if he shoots it more, then he's going to be more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And I almost wonder if you almost maybe have him on the other side. He's usually playing on the right side of the power play. Maybe they need to move him to the left, Ovechkin style. Maybe I wonder if that would work a little bit more.
That's one thing I've always I understand in the corners and that you want to have the stick near the boards, but honestly, when it comes to shooting, it makes so much more sense to have the sticks in the center of the ice to me. And I would always prefer to see guys on their off wing so that way they can get a better angle on their shots.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. The one line that I did think was really strong was the backline again. The Backlund, Tkachuk, Mangiapane line. And I think Mangiapane was the best Flame tonight. He was hitting everything. He had a number of chances. There was a couple of passes that were just missed. He probably with a little bit of luck, probably could have had 2 goals tonight.
Yeah, he played great. Last broadcast, Cuthbert said he's like a Tkachuk 2.0, maybe not better, definitely not better, but I'm saying that he definitely has the same traits as Tkachuk, and he definitely has some skill to him too. So and them on the same line together, I love it. And he definitely was, in my mind as well, the best Calgary Flame today.
Yeah, I'd almost like to see them switch things up a little bit and have Lindholm centering Tkachuk and Mangiapane and throw Backlund out there with Monahan and Gaudreau.
So who do you put at center?
Backlund. Throw Monahan on the wing.
Yep.
I would, because Backlund didn't want to play the wing. It's not that Backlund didn't want to play. I'm making that sound like Backlund's a baby. Backlund feels he's more comfortable at center, which is totally fine. He is more comfortable as the center. Maybe that works. Backlund, Gaudreau, and Monahan, it gives you some life. I like that's what I like about Lindholm, having Lindholm at center. But and I feel in some ways Monahan is almost bringing him down with whatever it is. I'm going to start calling him sulky Monahan. But and then for the defense, I'm going to say something that is not popular in Calgary, but I think it's becoming more and more clear every time he's playing. Giordano is getting slower. The first goal was not necessarily his fault. That was more on Dubé, but I'm starting to notice that the Jets forwards were starting to take advantage of Giordano's speed, and like when he's pitching in, they're getting opportunities. He's not. He's 37 years old. It's expected to have a step back, but he's not been the same Mark Giordano that he has been over his career with the Flames. It is a step back.
Yeah. Unpopular opinion here, I would expose him in the expansion draft.
I would too. I definitely would. Like you said, Kev. He's 37 years old, and even from the first part of the season when COVID hit and they shut down till now, it looks like he's aged a year. And even show him on the blue line when they're doing the national anthems, and he has a lot more gray hair than he once did. And there's no correlation there, but. He's slower. His mobility is down. His agility, the way that he moves on his skates, it's definitely noticeable. And I would expose him as well. You have too many good young players here. I would expose him in the expansion draft because they have too many young good players here that deserve a shot and deserve to be a Calgary Flame going forward. It is a bit of a unpopular opinion, but I feel like deep down, if you really look at him as a whole right now, he's taken a step back from the past 4 months.
So based on that, because the whole argument about not playing Juuso Välimäki is you would have to protect him in the expansion draft. If you're not going to, if you don't want to protect Giordano, do you play Välimäki in this series?
No.
I just feel this Flames defense is very slow without him.
You know who's not impressed me at all is Hanifin. You don't notice him. You don't notice him out there. He's a big body. He can skate, and he just seems he's blended right in. The only times that I've seen him is when he makes a mistake, and for certain defense, you want that. You don't want to see them. You want to make sure that the puck's not going in the back of your net, and you got your defensive defenseman. But I feel like he has potential to be a good hockey player, a good middle of the line defensive or a defenseman, and he hasn't shown that. And he's still young. He should be in his prime pretty soon here, and he's someone that I would love to see more from.
Yeah, with Hanifin, he's really hasn't changed from his rookie season. Like, he has been at this level pretty much consistently, and you always hope to see some forward progress. But I think that with him, like, even though he's really young, I think what you see is what you get. And, that's fine as a 3-4 defenseman, but, I don't see him ever emerging as a top pairing guy. And the Flames are going to need to find somebody organizationally to take over for Giordano. And I think Rasmus Andersson will be on the first pairing moving forward, but I think they need another guy to go with them, and I don't think Hanifin will be that guy.
Yeah, Välimäki has good potential to be a number one defenseman too. All I've heard from Peter Labaudius, who I respect a lot in the industry, is that he is a professional. He's way more mature beyond his years, and I could see him being a top 4, maybe even a top pairing defenseman going forward.
And then you got Connor Mackey as well, that the Flames seem to be high on. So, there's room to do it. Maybe even a deeper unpopular opinion, Matt. Maybe I'll take this a step further. Do you look at possibly and trading Mark Giordano in the off season?
Yeah, I could see that. It depends on how hard they fall on their face. Like, if they do during this playoffs, like if they lose to Winnipeg, then honestly, this team needs to retool entirely and identify the key players on this team, which for me at this point are Dubé, Lindholm, Kachuk, Mangiapane, and the young defenseman, and that's basically it. And go from there, and like any other piece, switch it out. And if you can, and like it depends. Like if the Flames can't take that next step, then all you're going to get is a decently exciting regular season and then an embarrassment in the playoffs. And at the end of the day, like that's not really acceptable, especially with the amount of talent on this team. So you're going to have to rip the bandage off and, make structural changes if they really fall flat on their face. And Giordano, sure. Gaudreau, Monahan, sure, if you can get the right deal. And like even Backlund, if you can get the right price, if they fall flat on their face. I'm not saying to like blow the team up. Like you'd be getting good players in return. It's just that you have to figure out some way. It's sort of like the Flames in the 80s when they kept losing to Edmonton in the playoffs, and they kept having to retool and figure out different ways of doing things in order to take that next step. And eventually they were successful, but it took them like 5 years of making trades and cycling guys out that were even very popular players just because it wasn't working, and move it out and get somebody else in. And, it's unfortunate, but that's where the Flames kind of are right now in their current iteration. A lot of talent, but not the right mix. And they're going to have to figure out some way of changing things up if they continue to slide to figure it out.
I agree with you. It's just it's going to be hard to find somebody to take your three of your top salary players on your team, especially with the flat cap. But and like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it as of right now. And we're not even out of the playoff or like out of the playoffs yet. But I feel like we maybe have. I know Matt and I kind of been talking before the podcast about even if they get past the first, the qualifying round, they're probably going to get pumped in the next round unless they figure something out, unless something clicks, unless they are running at a clip like they were last year where everybody was having a season year or a career year. So, sorry, Matt.
Yeah, well, it's also one of those things, like if you make those kinds of trades, like you're obviously going to be getting players in return, cap-wise. So I don't think that, the dollars will probably match up or fairly close to it. It's just, and I am getting ahead of myself with this whole talk, but, we've seen this exact story happen like word for word to this point last season and like it didn't change. And so, if they surprise us and like find their heart, right now they're the Tin Man Flames. And, if they can find a heart, then they'll be good. But yeah,
find a heart and a lion.
Yeah.
Get some courage going. God.
Anything.
Yeah. Before we get to Talbot, and I want to quickly also talk about Jeff Ward, I want to talk about the end sequence of the game there, because to me, Sean ranted about the reffing between the Canucks and the Wild, feeling like that Tanner Pearson penalty was a very questionable penalty, and I do agree with him. I agree with him. So my rant is how is someone who got held, whacked, smacked, belted 8 times not taken to the penalty box? I'm not saying that Mangiapane doesn't deserve a penalty for cross-checking, but that is at least that if that's not a power, that it should be an even up there. At least that was unbelievable to me.
Yeah, I did not like. Yes, I agree with you, Kevin. Mangiapane's penalty was a penalty, but there were, I'd say, 2 or 3 penalties before that. That happened to him He when he came into that area, he was against the boards on one knee, and a guy came and hit him into the boards again when he didn't have the puck. That's interference. He got cross-checked from behind, another penalty that could have been called. It should have been coincidental. It should have been even 4-on-4 or even 5-on-5, especially with that close to the game. I feel like the refs kind of dropped the ball on that one, and I still am a bit fired up by it, and it's really unfortunate. It's good that we still had a chance with Ehlers taking that dumb penalty, another one.
Oh, did he have a game? Nicholas Ehlers have a terrible game? Like, yes, he got the winning goal, but that, man, if I am a Winnipeg Jets fan and I'm on a Winnipeg Jets live podcast, I am ranting about the performance of Nicholas Ehlers. Or Nikolai Ehlers. I call him Nicholas. It's Nikolai, isn't it?
Nikolaj.
Yeah, anyway, he had a terrible game. But
well, what'd you think, Matt? Because I don't know. Maybe you can, kind of tame the waters a bit.
Well, you have to fight. The Flames they got themselves in a bad place there, and you never want to ever give the opportunity for the refs to screw you over. And they put themselves in a bad spot, and it wasn't an ideal call, but at the end of the day, don't be in that spot.
Tyler says that all the time. Tyler is a ref, and he tells us that all the time. You don't want to put the player you don't want to put the ref in a position to make a decision.
Don't be an idiot, but I feel like Mangiapane he had a great game, and I've been there before where I've had infractions on me that I felt like should have been called, and then my just boils, and I go and do something stupid. It's unfortunate the way it turned out. I just feel like the refs could have done something a bit better there.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. It wasn't the reason they lost the game, but it wasn't.
God, no.
No, late.
No.
So who are you? Go ahead. Sorry,
Kev. One thing that might be an unpopular opinion as well is that I think that Dylan Dubé should be taken out of the lineup and Austin Czarnik should be put in.
Ward sat Dubé for the third period. Dubé did not play in the third period.
No, I thought that he was the reason why their first goal was scored. He overcommitted to Brody and didn't do a shoulder check and left who scored that first one?
Harkins.
Yeah.
Yes. Left him wide open, and it was an easy goal for him. And not to the fault of Talbot, because I thought Talbot played very well, but I was not impressed with Dubé, and I feel like and not saying anything against him as a player, because I think he has a very high upside, but I feel like Czarnik, first of all, on that second power play would make a massive difference, and I feel like he would be beneficial for that third line.
I also think that they should swap Ronaldo out for Jankowski, just because Janko's good at penalty killing, and Ronaldo hasn't done anything, really. Like, he's just been there. And I think that, at least Jankowski can kill penalties. Gives you another option.
I don't want... Okay, I'll give you Ronaldo. I think it's out. I would put in Alan Quine. He's got more skill. This Jet defense, I feel like Quine can take advantage of it. I think a Ryan, Quine, Reeder line, I think would be a great fourth line that would be able to dominate that defensive zone. I'm sorry. I am done with Mark Jankowski. I'm done. I'm done. I don't care that he can do.
Well, he can show Monahan how to be intense in a playoff game.
That's a correct analogy, but that's a terrible take. Oh my God, that just shows Monahan his stripes. Oh man. But I'm with Kev. I'd rather see Quine out there than Jankowski, because Ronaldo. The reason why because he came in on a PTO, and he gave energy to the team. He brought energy. He was skating, he was hitting, and you don't see him. You don't see him at all. So I'm with him, Matt. It's whether or not it's Jankowski or Alan Quine, I feel like that they need to make a change there on the fourth line and on the third line with Dubé and putting in Zarnik.
I don't know what Jeff Ward has against Austin Zarnik, though, because he doesn't seem to he does not like Zarnik. He's not playing. They haven't played him really since he became the interim coach.
Yeah, didn't Zarnik get hurt and then he kind of came back, played in the AHL, and then he started lighting up the AHL, and the question was, well, why isn't he getting brought up? I feel like there's either, you're right, Kev, it could be Jeff Ward, head coach, not liking him, or there could be something more political that's involved with that. But I feel like he would be he'd be very beneficial. He does have a scoring touch, and when he was a free agent, there are tons of teams that were wanting him a part of their team, and I think it's because he can bring that energy. He's not a big guy, but he can pot some goals.
Oh, they just need to shake something up with this team, get some energy going, and even just getting some fresh legs for tomorrow. Anything will help.
I would be open even if you wanted to go just for a couple of shifts even. This idea of Lindholm, Gaudreau, and Bennett. Throw Bennett on the wing. Put Monahan, Zarnik, and Lucic together a couple of times. I would be open to it. I actually don't think Lucic has been that terrible in this series, actually.
I think he's actually been one of the strongest players on the Flames.
Yeah.
I think he was probably one of the three best forwards on this team, which there's a reason we lost.
Yeah, he cannot be one of your three best. Yeah.
He can't be, but he definitely is the engine, or not the engine of the Flames, but he provides a spark. And every time that there's some shit disturbing going on in front of the net, I feel like he's right in there. And there's been a bunch of times where he's made good plays in the offensive zone, which you did not see from him in Edmonton or in the first half of this season, or in the first part of this season. So, good on him. And I feel like Jeff Ward, being the head coach, he was also an assistant coach in Boston when they won the Cup, and he knows what buttons to push with them. So, I feel like I'm pleasantly surprised with Lucic.
Yeah. To me, tomorrow, I think you go with Talbot. I don't think that there's even a remote debate there. He had to be better today than he was on game one, but he hasn't been terrible.
I'm gonna divert from you there. I think that you shake things up and you throw Riddick out there.
Interesting. It would be hard. It would be a hard conversation to have with Talbot because Talbot has played so well. But you know what? I would not be surprised to go either way because Riddick, he could stand on his head, and either way is a plus in my mind, I guess.
Yeah, I think that just because it's a back-to-back and the Flames have the luxury of two goalies that are basically equal, where Hellebuck has to go again tomorrow, that I think that just having a fresher body in that, especially with so many months off of no games, and then here's a third game in 4 nights. I think that just the freshness, I think, might make the difference.
I don't know. I can't do it. I can't be with you on that. I mean, if they do it, I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know. It's not even so much that Talbot has been good. There's something not sitting right with me with Riddick that I'm not trusting him in a game that you need to win. If it's 2-1 going into game 4 and it's back-to-back, I might be open to giving Riddick that game 4 start. But
so what's the difference?
You're down to, if you lose that game, you're down 2-1 and you need to win 2 in a row. And I don't know if this team can. Where I think that you ride with the guy that has played better. I mean, unless you give Riddick a short hook.
Well, if you have that mentality that you're going to give him a short hook, then you know that it's the wrong decision to go in with Riddick at the beginning. In my mind, I don't know. I understand going with Riddick tomorrow, but I feel like the better choice is to go with Talbot.
Yeah. Overall, with Jeff Ward, what are our thoughts here after 2 playoff games?
Please get a new coach. Go get one of the good ones. There are a few available. Go get one. Open the pocketbook. Just get any of the good ones. I don't really care at this point. Just, and that's not to say that Ward's been bad. It's just the Flames seem sluggish in being able to respond to adversity. And I think that's been a consistent thing. And frankly, they need a coach to come and kick their rear ends a bit and be able to effectively do that. And, there's a guy in Viking, Alberta that might work.
Oh, no. No,
yeah.
no.
Which one?
Yeah, there's actually a few of them.
Yeah. Make the rest of them the assistants.
That worked.
That's an old school take.
Yeah. Let's go back to 2000, the early 2000s.
Yeah, let's go back to 2004. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, this team, I've never seen a skilled team like this that has been in as desperate need of getting kicked in the ass by their coach than this group. And, Peters, prior to the whole racism thing, that was one of the things that he was good at, was kicking them in the rear end. And they did have that 107-point season. And, it's one of those things that, if they can get somebody to get the boot out, anything, they need something. This team just seems out of alignment entirely.
Yeah, I agree in the sense that, Jeff Ward, he's done a decent job, and, it's nothing against him.
No.
But it's like, okay, do I take Sidney Crosby or do I take Eric Stahl? Maybe that's a bad take, but there's still good coaches out there. My vote would be Peter Laviolette.
That was actually where I was going. Yeah.
He has a great mix between players coach and kicking, bringing the boot out, as Matt said, and kicking them in the ass and get your work boots on. But I don't know. I would feel bad for Jeff Ward because, he seems like he's doing a decent job for what situation he came in with, because, he started with the whole Bill Peters bullshit of racism, and coming into that room with that hanging over their head, hands off to him, or hats off to him, and good on him. And I thought that he's done a decent job, but there's better coaches out there that have proven themselves. So I'm with you. Open up the checkbook and for me, go get Laviolette.
Yeah, something like that for sure. Well, that is game 2. We are tied. We have a game tomorrow, which we will be back on after. Not sure if we will be live or recording, depending on our technical issues, but we will be on after. How do we follow everyone?
I'm GordHowe09 on Twitter, but I just want to say before Matt jumps in, it just seems like it's so doom and gloom right now. We still have a couple. Exactly, it's 1-1. Let's keep our spirits up, and let's hope for the best. Come on, let's go. But Matt, how do we follow you on Twitter?
At Matt Duborg on Twitter, or at Fireside Podcast. And yeah, it's one of those things that always very optimistic when watching the game, but I'm very much a realist. And, like last year's how that series went, like I got really jaded with this team, and when you see that same story playing again, it's like, oh no, I'm watching a bad repeat. No.
Well, I don't know.
Change the channel, please.
I don't know. We'll wait and see. They're we'll see what tomorrow brings.
I think tomorrow's game is pivotal to tell you what this team is. Because if they just lie down and die again tomorrow, then it's blow the thing up, and hope for the 12% Lafreniere chance, and start hoping for the lottery. But if they actually respond like they should, and like a professional hockey team should, then they'll beat the ever-loving hell out of them, and which that would be good.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Follow me, KVOLE. Beardy Canuck 03 is Sean. Heidi Mazeballs is Heidi. Chris is Schneidz, SCHNEIDZ. Tyler T. Noble, podcast_hockey. Thanks, everyone. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.